It is indeed time for Your Money. Every Tuesday we talk about everything that is under and to do with your money. And as you've heard from that report by Michael Karanja, Kenya today hosts a high-level conference on Kenya's economic successes, prospects and challenges right here in the capital. The conference runs through today to tomorrow. And I'm joined now in studio by a business editor right here at KTN, Joseph Bonyo, the man you don't often get to see, but he's the one in charge of all the business stories. You see the agenda of business in KTN. Thank you for joining us this morning.
The pleasure is all mine.
So what is this conference about? What is it called? Let's start there.
I think to first of all put the conference in context is that Kenya over the last 3 years has been defying several odds, both globally and locally. It's an economy that has been growing despite the others trying to shrink.
Right.
So what happens is that the IMF and the World Bank, together with the National Treasury and the Central Bank of Kenya, decided to host a meeting today and tomorrow to take stock of why is it that Kenya is defying such odds. What are some of the successes that defines Kenya's economy right now, and how best can this growth be sustained? Because you remember after the 2007 general election, as a country we were in the brink of collapse.
Right.
Our economy dipped from 7.1% to 1.7%. I think that one was a significant fall. And ever since we made peace with one another and decided that from there on we are going to take this country forward, we have defied the odds. The economy has been growing significantly by about 1 percentage points every year. And our agriculture, despite not being very well, still is the backbone of this economy. We've seen a number of sectors in the economy, the building and construction growing, the manufacturing sector growing. We've seen tourism, despite the recent numbers not very positive, but at least there's marked growth in the sector. So these groups decided to say, hey, why don't we look at what is it that Kenya has done over the years and how do we sustain such growth measures? That is why they decided to host the meeting today and tomorrow. President Kenyatta is going to officially open it this morning. It started at about 8 to around 9:45. We are going to be live to give Kenyans a glimpse of what is happening, the trends around the economy and some of the discussions. So this conference is aptly titled Ready for Takeoff. You remember before the general elections on the March 4th, most politicians were anchoring their campaign around the economy and other things. But when it came specifically to the economy, most of them were saying that Kenya is already taxing.
Yes.
So we've taxed, now we are ready for takeoff. That is in essence what this conference is all about.
Okay.
Yes.
You highlighted some of the economic successes we've had, of course, from that deep following the 2007-2008 post-election violence and the path we've come on so far. Would you say Kenya is on the right track in terms of growth economically and just building ourselves as that hub that as business ventures, if you're a business investor outside, within, you want to invest in this country?
Absolutely, Sophia. Look at it this way. If you look at the donor investments or the foreign investments flows into this country, they've been increasing. If you look at the sectors like the financial services sectors, we've got international banks looking at a piece of this country. If you look at the security services, the Capital Markets Authority, the numbers are very promising. Look at the building and construction center. We can aptly say that it's a sort of a boom. You look at all the other segments of this economy. Our agriculture is trying to take shape. You look at the recent sector that for a very long time has not been captured when we are doing our economic stock taking is the ICT. It is growing. Right now, Kenya is a global example when it comes to mobile banking.
Right.
And several conferences have been held here to showcase to the world what Kenya has. So I can aptly say that as a country, we are destined for greater things because our economy is taking shape. Back in the day, we used to say that if we get our politics right, that was after the March 4th elections, if we were going to hold it peacefully, then we were going to be in a growth trend that cannot be stopped. So we had our politics right. We've seen the recent statements by the government, the policies they're putting in place. This, if you look at them wholesomely, then clearly this is a country that is destined for great things. And our economy, already we did, I think, about 4.6% last year, GDP. It's being forecast to be about 5.6, 5.5 in the coming year. So I think if you look at all this wholesomely, then clearly we are a country on and very ready for takeoff.
For takeoff and on the right track, Bonyo. But of course, also that economy facing its challenges. There must be challenges. What challenges would you say the Kenyan economy is facing, and what the government and the key players must keep in mind and put in place to ensure it does not face another downward spiral?
Precisely, Sophia. If you ask me, I'd say that there are a few things that we must get right. First of all is devolution. We are a country that now has 47 mini governments, and every other investor looking at this country to invest in will want to look at the opportunities around all these 47 counties. So I want to believe that if we really handle devolution well, so that we can give some form of certainty to investors willing to come to the country, they look at the various counties and development will be distributed equitably around the country. So if we get the devolution right, we are going to give that confidence to the investing community and tell them, hey, we are very ready, both as the central government and as the devolved government. We are ready to handle you. We are very positive. We are certain. If we do that well, we are going to work well. If we mishandle it, then that's going to be a very big challenge there. Let's look at issue around youth unemployment. That is an area that, as a country, we really must sort out. Because if we really don't have enough jobs for our youth, then clearly issues around insecurity and all that will come in. But then again, we've seen the government trying, like the recent ways of fund. Yeah, these are just things to set up, give the youth an opportunity. Right. To set up business so that we stop relying on formal employment, because there's a World Bank statistics that indicates that in a year we produce about 800,000 people into the job market, and only about 50,000 gets into the formal job market. Where does the rest 750,000 go to? Right. That's a big question. So if we can have banks to playing a part in trying to ensure that people can access capital, start business without security, and just doing a sort of monitoring to see that this money is put into good use, then I think we can at least go an extra mile in trying to solve issues around youth unemployment. Right. The last issue that I must say is all about the policy framework. The government is doing its level best, but then again, this must be done in consultation with a number of players. Look at the recent VAT Act that came into being. There's a lot of hue and cry about it, and actually there were planned demonstrations this morning against the conference, but it's only around yesterday at around 6 p.m. that meetings were held with the conveners, and they agreed that they're not going to stage any demos. Their purpose is that this VAT Act must be amended. If you amend it, then at least you are going to give people some relief, because in an economy, if you're not spending enough, then clearly we are going to dwarf our economy. Right. So people must be encouraged to spend, and we spend a lot of money buying basic items, food stuff and all the likes. Right. So if we're not going to spend a lot of money buying this food stuff, we can decide to choose not to go with them. Right. And that will dwarf the economy, because we'll not be spending enough. Right. So if all these issues can be done in consultation, then I want to believe the policy frameworks in terms of allowing foreign investors to come in, allowing individual Kenyans to invest, all that can really work well. But we must also address issues that touch on the common mwananchi. Excellent. And I like that you bring the VAT issue to fore, because who are the conveners of the demonstrations? It was being convened by the Consumer Federation of Kenya. Okay. Yes, led by Stephen Mutoro. You know, they are very conscious about issues to deal with consumers. Why did they back down? They had a meeting with the National Treasury and officials from the Kenya Revenue Authority and the National Treasury, as well as the Central Bank, and they agreed that they are going to form a multi-sectoral team to look at the issues that consumers are raising and find a view of addressing them instead of staging a demonstration that was not going to yield any results apart from just disrupting the meeting that is taking place this morning. Okay, interesting. Let's continue the discussion on Kenya's economy. And recently we saw Nigeria's president visiting the country alongside very powerful businessmen from his country. The other day we had the opening of the berth, and we saw the African leaders from Tanzania, from Uganda and Rwanda visiting the country. So how can Kenya benefit from these regional partners in boosting our economy? For starters, Kenya is arguably the regional economic hub. If you travel from the West Africa, the first point of docking is Nairobi. If you travel from South Africa, the first point of talking this side is Nairobi. So that in its significance tells you that Nairobi is packaging itself as an economic hub.
Right.
As a country, by attracting neighbors, we send a signal that we can do it, first of all, within the people that we have. Remember, we are the biggest market in the economy. Tanzania has the population, but they don't consume as much as we do. So all businessmen, all producers, all manufacturers in Uganda, Tanzania, look at Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and Ethiopia of late, they are looking into Kenya to do business with Kenya.
Right.
And the dynamism of the community, the society that we have, Kenyans, if you visit other countries, we are a very welcoming society, and we accept to live with each other, irrespective of where you come from, so long as you're doing legal business with us. So if you look at Nigerians coming in, we've not done so much business with Nigeria in the recent past, and Nigeria is a very big population, that if our manufacturers can find access to that market, then we can find a lot of good doing business with them. So I think all this that has been happening in the last 4 or so months is just to demonstrate that as a country, first of all, we are open for business, and we are encouraging people to come and do business with us. We are not going to belittle anybody. Look, we've gone even into China, and serious business deals have been done with China. So we are open for business, looking for people to trade with us, because it's at the end of the day, if we can manufacture and consume and sell the remainder to other people, then clearly we are an economy on the right path.
All right, and I like that you say there's the look to China, that's the East. And what does that mean for Kenya? Because we've had a lot of discussions around that, and people saying, oh, does this mean now we're snubbing the West, you know, getting into new frontiers? But as a business journalist, and you've been in this field for a very long time, what does it really mean for the country?
I think our focus to the East is good for us, because one thing that we all know for sure is that China gives money, and it's not tied to any conditions.
Okay.
We've had a situation about over the previous years, we've had the West giving us money, but they're tied up to certain conditions. China is a slightly liberal, and a country that wants to really develop will want to focus on somebody that will give them that money and tell them put it into good use, without telling that before you do 1, 2, 3, I want you to do 1, 2, 3, that is when I'll give you the money. That one, they're limiting your scope of creativity. But with China, it's slightly liberal. It gives people what you want, and in return, they think the much you can do is to assure them that their contractors, their people are the people who are going to do this. So I think the look to China is welcome. It's also give us a diversity in terms of how we do business, who we are trading with, but we also must be very careful about our public debt, because if we borrow too much, then we run the risk of not developing as much as we want. Because currently the Institute of Economic Affairs estimates that you and I every month pay about 18,000 Kenya shillings to service our public debt. So these are some of the things, and I think the IMF yesterday in our press conference also raised such issues, that in as much as our public debt is still manageable, but we really must be cautious about it. So in as much as we want to attract all these people and do business with them and borrow money from them, the policymakers, that is the government, must also be conscious about the levels of our public debt.
All right, finally, Bonyo, as we wind up, this conference is bringing together 150 participants from the Kenyan private sector, the international business community, civil society, the Kenyan government, and the international institutions. And you said the president is expected
to attend at 9.
Yes. What would we be expecting to hear from him? This is the business platform. It's a great platform for him to speak at a time when, again, the VAT, the price of basic commodity goods, is on an all-time high. We are now seeing the opposition cord members saying, as Parliament resumes today, one of the things they plan to ensure is front and center in their agenda is to see how that law can be amended. But in terms of this conference, the things you've told us that it focuses on, what do you expect to hear from the president today?
I think President Kenyatta has the advantage of having been a previous finance minister.
Right.
And some of the issues that are going to be discussed at the meeting, he has a first first hand-on experience on them. And I think some of the issues that he must really tackle are issues to deal with what is it that his government is planning to straighten up this economy over the next 5 years. I'll be looking forward to him speak about investing more on infrastructure. I'll be looking forward to see him talk about expanding our manufacturing base. I want to look forward to see President Kenyatta talk about how is it that the common mwananchi is going to have a relief, and that by extension touches on issues around the VAT. And the other thing that I know he will try to say is that we should stop playing politics with issues that are very core to the livelihoods of Kenyans, because the VAT bill in Parliament was debated by a house and passed by the house. So I think it's not very honest of a section of the political divide coming out right now and saying that this is the time the government must look. They were in Parliament to be able to defend the rights of the Kenyans, as they so say. But all said and done, I think that just goes ahead to show the level of concern that there is around this. So I'd want President Kenyatta to say that probably there's going to be some amendments around it, or as a government they're going to be very vigilant, because at the end of the day you'll realize that some of the retailers are out to fraud Kenyans, because for you to charge VAT as a business, your turnover must be about 5 million. And I think my kiosk person in the estate, because he's gone ahead to increase some of the basic items, his turnover is not that much. So I think as a president he must come out and tell some of these retailers that you are not supposed to charge some of these things you're charging. Last Friday the Private Sector Alliance and Kenya Manufacturers Association joined the National Treasury and said, hey, some of us have not passed down these costs. So we expect that the retailers should be paying, should be charging you what they used to charge before this thing came into being. But then again, because it's a debate, it's a topic that is all over, some people are taking advantage of that. So I expect President Kenyatta to come out strongly and give out his word to people who are out to fraud Kenyans in such manner. All
right, excellent. Joseph Bonyo, editor business here at KTN. Thank you for talking to us today on Your Money. That has been Your Money with Joseph Bonyo. Ready for Takeoff is a conference that kicks off today, a high-level conference on Kenya's economic successes, prospects, and challenges in Nairobi. As we've heard, KTN will be live with that conference, so do stay tuned to KTN.